Welcome, dear friends, to Tea Time with the Chaps, where our pastime is reading and our tea is brewed from none other than TTRPG Reddit. I am the Chap, and sitting next to me is none other than Wife of Chap.
I am Wife of Chap.
Splendid. Now then, today's theme is all about surprises, for nothing is quite so unexpected as discovering in your very own game that you yourself were the surprise all along.
Hear, hear.
Hear, hear. Please tell us in the comments below if you were a surprise. Now then, moving over to our drinks and our mugs. Please, dear wife, what is your mug and what are you drinking?
What I have here is my gnome mug from your favorite place, Hobby Lobby.
What are you drinking?
I am drinking Imposter Syndrome and a little bit of gotcha, and maybe some water. What are you drinking?
Where'd you get the gotcha from?
Gotcha.
Oh.
What are you drinking?
I am drinking from a skull mug because I just feel dead inside right now because I've been going non-stop all day today and we are filming this at 8:40 p.m. And I'm also drinking apple juice. Why, you may ask? Well, you didn't have to ask, but I'm glad you did. I'm drinking apple juice because I couponed the ever-living crap out of this apple juice sale. I got 4 things of apple juice for $4. Cheers to me. All right, Chap, why don't you go ahead and spill the first tea?
Greedy Monk kept secretly stealing the party's loot. The DM went along with it for a long time.
The blasphemy.
This tale hails from some time ago, and truthfully, it still rather baffles me. I cannot claim to know precisely how the monk managed his trickery, but I shall do my best to explain as clearly as possible. Step 1, the game. I just lost.
You son of a...
This was none other than an online campaign of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, played chiefly through voice chat. I was invited by a friend who, in turn, was acquainted with the Dungeon Master. The remainder of the party was made up of players who had responded to the DM's advertisement. It was a high-level affair, beginning at roughly level 8, with the DM being rather generous in his allotment of experience. Step 2. The monk. The troublesome fellow was playing a tabaxi monk. He was, to put it delicately, something of a bounder. The sort who min-maxes shamelessly, then proceeds to boast endlessly about how marvelously crafted his character was, declaring that the rest of us could scarcely hope to compare. It was insufferable at times, though tolerable. Or so we thought. The DM, I later discovered, had long known better. The monk possessed many thief-like skills and would often brag that he was so swift that no one could possibly catch him. He insisted upon scouting first, rushing ahead heedlessly, leaving the rest of us to scramble after him. On more than one occasion, this landed him in grave peril, and when we had to rescue him, he would whine dreadfully, insisting he could have extricated himself without our help. In towns of civilized settings, he frequently wandered off alone. None of us considered it unusual. The DM often role-played side scenes for individual characters, and our own heroes sometimes ran private errands. Given his lone wolf...
I thought he was a tabaxi.
You're right. Howl. Anyways.
What?
Tabaxis, I don't know what they make. What sound do they make?
Well, they're cats.
So
woof.
Oh.
Continue.
Yeah. Given his lone wolf affectation.
Oh dear.
Affectation.
Say it more.
Affectation.
No, we couldn't get the C in there. Affectation.
Affleck.
No, he's a tabaxi, not a goose. Just do.
Given his lone wolf affectation.
Just move on from the word.
Little desire to roleplay with him more than absolutely necessary.
Because they couldn't speak correctly, obviously.
So we rarely press the matter further. Step 3, treble bruise. The difficulties began when the DM appeared curiously stingy with treasure. Over several sessions, the problem worsened. we would slog through entire dungeons only to find chests mysteriously half full or altogether empty, as though someone had already pilfered them. Magical items, once a staple of every session, seemed to have vanished entirely. At first, I believed the DM had simply decided to tighten his grip on rewards, so I said nothing. But when we defeated an undead warlord who had stolen my family's ancestral sword, we searched his treasury only to find the sword missing. And once again, many chests stood oddly barren. I assumed this was a narrative hook, that the DM would reveal its true whereabouts later, and so I set aside my disappointment. The following session, we journeyed to a forgotten temple in search of an artifact. As ever, the monk dashed ahead to scout. A moment later, the DM announced that we heard him scream.
You heard the DM.
When we hurried to his side, we found him turned to solid gold before the statue of the temple's goddess, frozen mid-reach in front of a runic chest. The monk erupted in fury, argued bitterly with the DM, and eventually stormed off to a private chat. It was no surprise when he departed the campaign entirely soon thereafter. The rest of us, meanwhile, sat in astonishment. Step 4, the DM's reveal. The DM explained that the chest bore a warning. Only those blessed by the goddess might open it. More astonishingly still, he revealed that the monk had been pilfering treasure behind our backs all along. At first, it had been petty sums, some coins and trinkets here and there, hidden away in his several bags of holding. He would then present the remainder of a chest to us as though nothing were amiss. Occasionally, he even locked the chest after his theft to feign discovery. These actions he communicated secretly to the DM via private messages. The DM, a self-proclaimed simulationist, allowed this, insisting that he preferred not to restrict player choice, merely to enforce realistic consequences. Why he indulged this behavior for so long, I cannot quite fathom. But the monk grew bolder, stealing magical items, even those intended for other characters, items he himself could not use. Some he sold in towns, others he buried away for later retrieval. Matters escalated until entire caches of treasure were missing. By this stage, the DM had grown to despise him. He recounted that the monk often argued for more leeway, uttering gems such as, "It's not fair! I'm so fast I should be able to loot the whole corridor before the others even arrive." When we examined the monk's hoarded bags of holding, we found numerous magical items. Among them, my ancestral sword. Yes, he had stolen even that. The golden statue was the DM's way of teaching him a lesson. In truth, the curse was meant to be temporary. The goddess would have restored him after a few hours, offering him a chance of redemption. But since the monk left in a fit, it became permanent. In conclusion, the rest of us were hardly taken aback, for the monk always did strike us as precisely the sort of fellow to attempt such underhanded antics. In truth, he had grown particularly insufferable during the final few sessions before his downfall, and so we were, on the whole, rather relieved to see him depart. The game improved markedly without his presence. That said, the entire affair left something of a bitter aftertaste upon reflection. Chiefly, it was the knowledge that the dungeon master had been aware of the monk's behavior for quite some time, and had indulged him instead of addressing the matter directly with the rest of us. I still can't quite fathom how it was all kept hidden from the party for so long. Of course, the monk was not the only player with a so-called secret plotline. The sorcerer, for instance, was secretly heir to a kingdom and had been using the party's adventures to grow strong and wealthy enough to reclaim his throne from an usurper. Yet, unlike the monk, he never stole from us nor worked actively against the group. I do not wish to suggest that the dungeon master was poor at his craft. On the contrary, he was quite excellent in many respects. Still, I cannot help but feel this particular matter was rather poorly handled. A quiet word early on, setting firm boundaries for acceptable behavior, followed by dismissal if those boundaries were ignored. What did we learn?
Well, I only have one thing to say about this. It's okay to say no! There is a weird rule within the TTRPG internet community where you mustn't ever say no because that is rude. Well, it's also rude to treat someone like they are mud under thy soles.
Rude.
You're rude, exactly.
Rude.
You don't always have to yes and. It's perfectly okay to say no next. I've had so much more enjoyment in my life for stopping a problem I've seen happen and addressing the matter. And if they don't shape up, well then time to boot them out because I don't have time to put up with negativity because enjoying life takes up all of my time. End couponing. That's all I have to say.
Well, I would like to say, my dear chap,
Yes.
we must remember, finders, keepers, losers suck.
Oh my goodness.
Have we forgotten such a saying? Obviously. If the man has abilities that allow him to do such, why not? The other players better keep up. I also learned that there were 2 campaigns happening at once. The one the DM wrote for the entire group and the one the monk pulled the DM into out of game.
Oh my goodness.
It sounds like the DM just got some petty revenge against his BBEG.
Oh.
The monk. All right, chap. Spill the next tea.
Oh, I would love to. The first tea I shall spill this evening is accidentally finding out a player is colorblind.
Oh boy.
We were engaged in a game when we encountered an NPC who happened to be colorblind. She offered us what was essentially a ball of raw meat as sustenance. From her perspective, it was described as golden, yet the image posted by the DM was unmistakably a rather unappetizing lump of red gore. This prompted one of the players to inquire what the DM meant by red, as the image appeared pink to him. We later discovered he cannot perceive pink either. Predictably, matters escalated from there, culminating in the player taking a series of colorblind tests for the remainder of the session. It transpired that he suffers from severe colorblindness and cannot perceive most reds or yellows. 25 years of life, and he had been entirely unaware. He believes the yellow Teletubby to be brown and Super Saiyan Goku to be orange. One cannot help but marvel at the amusement this game provides. Edit. Apparently, he never realized because whenever he queried colors, every member of his family concurred with the hues he perceived. They are all colorblind. This revelation explains a great deal. What? Yes! Yes, they are!
No, that is terrible!
Oh, it gets better!
No!
This revelation explains a great deal regarding some of his color choices for his character. They are not necessarily poor selections, but he would insist they matched or claim this is red, when the shades were more pink or orange or distinctly different tones of red. Update. He cannot perceive yellow at all. Oh, no. After further examination, he sees it only as burnt orange, red, or brown. This should have been apparent from the Teletubby example. But he genuinely cannot perceive any yellow whatsoever. Sunflowers, bees, and mustard appear as burnt orange. The Teletubby and hazmat suits are brown. Gold reads as red-orange. Regarding reds, he can only clearly discern very vibrant bright reds, such as a rose. All other reds fade into oranges, or what he calls yellow, which is predominantly burnt orange. Pink is entirely indistinguishable, appearing merely as red-brown orange. Burgundy contains orange when he observes it, and pink registers solely as red. Kirby appears barely red with brown cheeks.
Are they talking about his cheeks on his face?
I sure as hell hope so. It also became apparent that purple is somewhat problematic. Violet appears to him as a mixture of blue and purple, predominantly blue, for instance. Grape soda reads almost entirely as blue. Green bears a faint bluish tinge, and at least in his perception of grass and plants. Oh dear.
Oh no.
Oh, this entire revelation has been quite the experience. One does rather feel that we have imparted some eldritch knowledge upon the poor fellow, unveiling entire colors he cannot truly see or even imagine. We shall inspect his wardrobe. We shall inspect his wardrobe to ensure nothing garish is present. But aside from that, all is well.
I'm glad all is well, other than that whole list.
Exactly. So, my dear chap, what did we learn?
Boy, do I have a note. First thing I just thought of was, where were his teachers? You know what? This individual was homeschooled. That is a tall tale sign that this poor chap was homeschooled with colorblind individuals.
You make a great point, because I was going to say, how did he get through any of his middle and high school without being told this?
We found the reason.
We found it,
but my true note I was going to say, I learned that D&D sessions can now be considered doctor visits.
No.
This chap was diagnosed as colorblind by his group. You know, I have a cousin who got diagnosed with bibbidi giblets during a campaign.
All right, chap, spill the next tea, please.
My players didn't like that I tricked them.
Ooh.
I've been serving as dungeon master for a group mostly online for a few months now. Truth be told, this was my very first proper campaign in the role. I discovered the group on the internet, and they turned out to be an absolutely delightful bunch of people. So we've been adventuring together for some time. We began playing twice a week, so our campoon...
The campoon? We're gonna go campooning.
We're going to go campooning.
We're gonna play a sushin in the campoon, and then we're gonna go campooning.
We began playing twice weekly, so our campaign moved along rather briskly. And what was intended to be a 2-year endeavor was, in fact, completed within the span of 1. When I first devised this campaign, I wanted to create something intriguing with a clever twist. I designed a big bad evil gentleman, if you will, a deity stripped of their powers, not their gentlemanliness, under rather unfortunate circumstances, left weakened and fragmented. This deity then began wandering the realms in search of scattered shards of their divinity, determined to ascend once more. This once divine fellow was hardly the charitable sort, so he took a rather less than honorable approach to reclaiming his strength. In disguise as a traveling merchant, he began quietly influencing those who browsed his wares to carry out certain deeds, each one leading him closer to piecing himself back together. Not every request was ghastly, mind you, though neither were they entirely wholesome. This character became a reoccurring figure throughout the campaign as intended. Picture him as something akin to the mysterious vendor from Resident Evil 4, always popping up at the most opportune moments, and always somehow having exactly what the party sought. Except in this case, rather than coin, he demanded peculiar favors, or set them on seemingly trivial errands. Taken individually, the tasks seemed harmless enough, yet when observed with a wider perspective, they formed a cunning intangible web, allowing him to manipulate the realm. This merchant was, quite frankly, the very embodiment of slipperyness. I honestly thought I'd made it painfully clear he was not to be trusted. But alas, my players adored his charming mannerisms and enticing treasure offers, lapping it up like a spaniel at tea time. Now, however, the party have reached the point of revelation. The vendor is, in truth, an ancient deity teetering on the edge of regaining full power. And the twist, of course, is that the players must now confront the reality that it was their own unwitting assistance that allowed him to come so perilously close. Precisely the moral quandary I'd hoped to create. His return to divinity, however, heralds calamity on the grand scale, flames and salt sweeping across the lands, bringing ruins most dire. This revelation occurred in our last session, and I must admit, it left my players rather shaken. Yet today, I've received a flurry of messages accusing me of betraying their trust, that I ought not to toy with their emotions, nor place their characters in situations where their actions appear morally gray or even outright damaging. During our session 0, I made it perfectly clear that I wished to explore territory beyond the usual Valiant Knight Slay the Dragon affair. At the time, they all agreed. And yet now, I do find myself fretting, wondering if I've been a bit of a nincompoop for not anticipating just how distressing this turn of events might be. Our campaign is presently on hold whilst we sort this out. I realize it may not be as appalling a tale as others floating about, but to me, it feels as though my very first campaign is about to collapse into cinders. And by Jove, it leaves an utterly dreadful taste in my mouth. So here we are. With any luck, we'll be able to carry on. If it transpires that their distress was less severe than it presently appears, but I'm also bracing myself for the reality that this story may well meet its untimely end. That, dear reader, is my tale. Edit. I truly hadn't expected such attention. I shan't be able to respond to everyone, but I'll endeavor to address the chief question raised. First, regarding age, everyone at the table is between 25 and 30 years old. As for whether I dropped hints, goodness gracious, yes. I went to considerable lengths to make this fellow thoroughly odious. Whenever he appeared, I kept a list of at least 20 clues suggesting his wickedness. His avarice was positively Gollum-esque. Each time they handed him a fragment of his divinity, yet the players appeared utterly unperturbed. And regarding our session 0, I used a comprehensive checklist and explained that this story wouldn't be the classic hero trumps over dragon model. I said it would involve nuance, moral dilemmas, and consequences for their actions. They gave me their full support at the time. Finally, the tasks themselves, they began harmlessly enough, such as unearthing a buried doll in the ruins of a burned mansion, surely that ought to have raised an eyebrow or two, but became progressively darker. At one point, they incited an entire family into an internal feud that would inevitably spell its downfall. Speaking of ruining families, as a piece of his divinity was tied to their bloodline. Did they protest? Not in the slightest. They were more than happy to accept his bargain so as long as they received what they sought in return. Now, my dear chap, what did we learn?
Well, first of all, this group needs to give us their secrets on how they were able to meet 2 times a week. Some of us can only meet once a month. What kind of witchcraft are they pulling to have that freedom to meeting so often? 2, this is rightfully the case of mess around and find out.
Oh.
I do feel like these players weren't thinking of the consequences that may transpire, but instead were greedy, like the salesmen. And once they found out that their own blindness, greed, led to the revival of something evil, they couldn't comprehend blaming themselves, but instead took their insecurities and blamed it on the DM. Or it might have been a single player feeling guilty, and they were able to turn the rest of the players against the DM. Why? Because that player is an English major and can't handle having errors in their ways.
You know, my dear chap, I think you were onto something there. I also think they are greedy little rascals.
No.
What happened to players distrusting every NPC or trying to turn NPCs into their traveling companions or pets?
Woo, yes, but
As my cousin George always says, with the arch in our back, thy booty shall clap. Oh, sorry, that was his grocery list. He always says the Dungeon Master doesn't recycle scoundrels for their charm alone.
Your archenar? What did you say, the archenar? What was the first part?
With the arch in our back.
Oh, the arch in our back. With the archenar in our back.
The Dungeon Master doesn't recycle scoundrels for their charm alone, so I think these players really needed to get their crap together.
Yes, of course.
And then number 2, this DM seemed to have too much success with traumatizing their players on their first go-around running a campaign. Either they are lying, or they are on the path of darkness to become the ultimate DM, leaving broken and emotional squashed players in their wake. Maybe we need to find this OP and destroy them before they can destroy everyone else.
Exactly. I love that idea. Or maybe they're all just simply English majors.
All right, chap, spill the next tea.
Oh, I will spill the next tea. For the last tea of this evening, caught my DM fudging dice rolls, and it kinda ruined the game for me. I recently stumbled upon something that left me rather frustrated with my campaign. I had meticulously...
Meticulously?
Shut up. I had
Meticulously?
I had
Meticulously.
meticulous... Oh, goodness gracious. I had...
Those uslies seem to get you every time.
I know.
Particularly.
They make fun of me.
Meticulously.
No, say it in the accent.
I got it.
Big question.
I had meticulously designed, thank you! I designed a highly evasive flying player character crafted specifically to avoid being struck. With my shield reactions, my armor class was elevated to 24, and I had mirror image activate for supplementary protection. We confronted a dragon, and something immediately felt amiss. My shield reactions were ineffective, and mirror image appeared utterly useless. Despite an AC of 24, the dragon's multi-attacks were constantly surpassing that threshold. It mattered not what measures I took, every strike connected. I ended up being down 4 times during the encounter, which seemed preposterous considering the precautions I had taken. Afterwards, I had discovered from another player that the Dungeon Master had admitted to fudging dice rolls deliberately to ensure my character was hit. His rationale was that my character's evasiveness was ruining the fight and disturbing the game's balance. I appreciate that DMs occasionally fudge dice rolls for storytelling purposes, yet it feels exceedingly disheartening when done explicitly to counter a character's core design. It renders all the planning and creativity invested in constructing a highly invasive character effectively null and void. Has anyone else encountered a similar situation? How did you manage it? Now, before I go any further, might I add some insight from the comments, which read, mirror image doesn't work on dragons. They have blind sight. Also, most dragons have insane bonuses to hit. It's very normal for them to have over +10 or +15 to hit, followed by, even with a high AC, it's likely the dragon would hit, but it's still not likely that every attack would hit. And finally, the player who supposedly said the GM was fudging might have been talking BS. Now, dear listeners, some of you may be thinking, well, that is rather a lackluster discovery story. I thought the same, until I examined more of the comments and was advised to pursue this individual's profile for their other posts. And here is where the truly unexpected discovery within the tale emerges. The 3 posts made by this person bore the following titles: Caught my DMing fudging dice rolls, and it kinda ruined the game for me. Divorced, homeless, and alone, and how do you get a second wife? The latter of which was removed by the moderators. So, my dear chap, what did we learn?
Oh boy, did this man not know he was going against a dragon?
And his wife, apparently.
Apparently.
Yes.
I dare say, chap, putting all that together, this chap is doing it all wrong.
How so?
The only way to defeat a dragon is to seduce it.
Oh, you're right.
And if he did that, maybe that could apply to his other issues he's having.
Oh, dear.
Yes.
Yes.
Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. Oh, you know what? There it is. There's the answer to everything. If he just seduced the dragon, he would have had a second wife.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And a third and a fourth and wait.
No, let's just go with the second and see where that goes.
You're right.
Yes.
The DM had all the right to fudge his rolls. Fudge is so tasty and I think tastes a lot better in roll form. This player has 0 class or taste. Don't you think so? My dear chap, I don't understand why you're giggling. I got you with that one, didn't I?
You did. Oh, that's why you're drinking a cup of gotcha.
Yeah, that's exactly.
For my first take, I love how the OP makes me feel like he's a mad scientist who's not getting his way. Wait, hold on. Did you not hear that I crafted this character specifically to avoid being struck? It's not fair that I want to play the game and was trying to make it so you couldn't play the game.
Yes.
Also, I like how he claimed that he caught the DM fudging dice rolls, when in fact, it was another player telling the OP that the DM was fudging dice rolls. Therefore, OP technically hasn't caught the DM doing anything wrong.
No.
And my last thing, I can't get over how the OP's first post is how to get a second wife, and then immediately followed up with divorced, homeless, and alone. I mean, what do you expect at that point? A second wife, that's what you would expect.
A nickname in high school, that's what that was. Anyway.
Divorced, homeless, and alone?
Exactly right.
Oh, that's so sad. Well, my dear chaps, it seems like we have ran out of tea for this episode and we need to go brew some more. But in the meantime, please leave in the comments down below, what did you learn from the tea that was spilt today? I have been the Chap. This has been Wife of Chap.
I am Wife of Chap.
And we will now leave you with our goodbye.
Oh, I messed that up terribly.
And we will now leave you with our goodbye.